the giving of our lives and then our service to Messiah, there is a point of no return, no changing of the mind. Hi, this is Barry Phillips, a 10-minute Torah, day 4 of Tetzaveh, which is, and you shall command. Let's look at the ordination service found in Exodus or Shemot chapter 29. Let's read verse 1 and then drop down to verse 11. And this is the task you shall do to them to set them apart to serve me as priest. Take 1 bull and 2 rams, perfect ones. Verse 11, and you shall slay the bull before Yahweh by the door of the tent of appointment. Take some of the blood of the bull, put it on the horns of the slaughter place with your finger, and pour all the blood beside the base of the slaughter place. Now verse 15 says, and take 1 ram, and Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands on the head of the ram, and you shall slay the ram, and shall take its blood, and sprinkle it all around on the slaughter place. And then it says in verse 19, and you shall take the 2nd ram, and Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands on the head of the ram, and you shall slay the ram, take some of its blood, and put it on the tip of the right ear of Aaron, and on the tip of the right ear of his sons, and on the thumb of their right hand, and on the big toe of their right foot, and sprinkle the blood all around the slaughter place. So we are reading verses in particular that have to do with what is called the manipulation of the blood, the handling of the blood, how it is to be utilized in the process of observing the rituals of ordination. In verse 1, it says, and this is the task. The word task there is davar, which we recognize also oftentimes as the word, which is also used frequently. Davar Yahweh came to me saying, that is not only that they heard a word from Yah speaking into their hearing, however that was perceived, but also it is the word personified from John or Yochanan chapter 1. In the beginning was the word, davar, and the word davar was with Elohim, and the word davar was Elohim. Now I know your Greek studies will say the word is logos. That is, if Yochanan, John, actually wrote this primarily and initially in Greek, which I don't believe he did, he would have used the word davar as a Hebrew-speaking Jew. Nevertheless, so we know that Yeshua is the Word. So this is the Word that is the revelation of Yeshua that you shall reveal or do to them as a part of the ordination. The point we're driving at here is that this entire ordination process is a revelation of Messiah, Yeshua. And that is that Aaron, his sons, the Kohanim and the Kohen Hagadol, the high priest here, they are not just utilizing an opportunity to walk through the temple complex or the tabernacle, Mishkan complex here, and they're not just saying, well, you guys are the ones that put the animals on the altar. It's much, much more detailed and specific than that. And that is that with every animal presentation, every collecting and manipulating of blood, all of the duties inside the tent structure, everything down to the garments that they wear, and all of the ingredients and the oil and the spices for the incense, all of these things testify of Yeshua, all combined from one point to the next. Everything combined in this Levitical service should see Yeshua HaMashiach, Yeshua the Messiah, stand up in the middle of this courtyard and say, here I am, see me. That was the intention of the entirety of the Levitical service. It was never designed to replace the promised deliverer. The Levitical service of priesthood was never meant to atone forever for man's sins, one time, one offering, and you're good to go forever. That was never the intention. The blood of the animals was never intended to be a eternal salvation point. What it did is it set apart the flesh. It did provide a sense of covering, but it promised one who would come and do more than atone for the body, but could also then change the nature of that which resided within the body. So if our inclinations are not changed, the body is going to continue to rule, Romans chapter 8, and we are still going to be subjected to a non-righteous, a lifestyle that is not totally upright. We're looking for purity of heart. And it's not to say that none of these people at this point in time and beyond achieved such a thing. They did. But they saw beyond the sacrifices and the order of services and the garments and the colors and the pageantry of the moment. What they saw then was Yeshua. They saw the Messiah. Now, in the third offering, the bull was for a sin offering. And then the ram, the first ram, was a thanksgiving, Shalomim offering, a worship offering. The third was specifically for ordination, a unique offering at this point. The point I want to make here is whereas before the blood of the bull and the first ram were either attached to, smeared onto, or poured out at the base of the altar, the third offering with the ram was unique in this respect. It was also placed upon human flesh. Now, this is extremely rare. This rarely happens. But at this point, because they are being ordained and set into office, blood is applied to the right earlobe, right thumb, and right great toe. Human flesh, then, is blood connected to the altar. The same blood that was placed upon the human body of Aaron and his sons was also then sprinkled on the altar. This is a point of no return. These are now men that can't say at one point, I quit. I don't like the job description. I'm not happy with the work environment. I'm upset with my coworkers, and this just really isn't the job for me. I really don't read anywhere where Yah actually posed a question to Aaron or his sons and asked, would you be willing to serve me as priest? But rather, they were taken as priests. They were selected. And thankfully, they discerned the honor and the privilege of their calling and seized it. And Nadav and Abihu are going to make a mistake later on, and it's going to be costly, even in the service of their ordination, as we are being taught about here when this is carried out. It's going to be a fatal moment for them. That aside, these men understood what they were walking into. It was explained to them, and there was no turning back. You see, blood has been applied. Now, I remember in my sophomore year of high school in American history studies, my teacher had a funny way of teaching us that their point of no return was at Concord, if I'm not mistaken, where the British and the colonials exchanged gunfire, and Crispus Attucks, a black man, lost his life. What many would have considered, he's not that important because of his skin color in that day and time, became vitally important because, blood has been shed and there is no turning back. And with that, the American Revolution was underway. Here, blood has been shed. It has been put upon the man. He is attached to the altar. And like Messiah Yeshua, who stands at the altar in the heavens and points to his blood has been shed, Father. We can't go back. We must see this plan to the full. Not that there would be any question that they would. Blood has been shed for you. He's not turning back on you either. We'll see you again tomorrow. Until then, shalom.